Hello everyone, I am Dr. Rushabendra B, working as Assistant Professor in the Department of Chemistry, Vidyavardhaka College of Engineering, Mysuru. In this video, we are going to discuss about the structural materials. So here, the name itself indicates structural materials are the fundamental materials that are used in infrastructure to resist and support loads. So these structural materials are basically used in construction. So these structural materials can be metallic materials such as metals and alloys, and also these materials can be non-metallic material such as cement, glass, refractories, polymers and composites. So these metallic materials, the structural materials should possess some important characteristics such as strength, and then stiffness, and then toughness, and then durability. So here, strength, the first and foremost important parameter with respect to the structural material. So here strength refers the capacity or the ability of a material to resist the force that try to break it. Similarly, stiffness refers the ability of a material to resist the deformation when force is applied. So here toughness refers the ability of a material to absorb energy without breaking. Finally, durability refers the ability of a material to resist the scratch or abrasion. Any given structural material, whether it can be a metallic material or non-metallic material, should possess any one of the property mentioned here or combination of properties. So, with respect to the application, as engineers, we have to choose the best material for the building structure designs. Therefore, a thorough knowledge of selection and their properties is highly essential in the current scenario. As I mentioned earlier, metals, which comes under metallic material, widely used in construction. So we know that metals are hard in nature, electropositive, and then good heat and electricity conductor, and also we know that metals are ductile. So among metals, iron is one of the most important material or metal which is widely used in construction. So iron, the symbol is Fe, and the atomic number of iron is 26. The atomic mass of iron is 55.845, and the electronic configuration of iron is argon electronic configuration followed by 3d6 4s2. And also we know that iron is the fourth abundant element in earth crust. In percentage, iron exists in earth crust about 5%. Iron is basically extracted from its respective ore called hematite and magnetite. So iron, we know that never exists in metallic state or in free state. So due to the interaction of iron or due to the affinity of iron Fe with oxygen, Fe always exists in combined form, particularly in oxide form. Say for example, Fe, as I mentioned earlier, exists in combined form, particularly in oxide form. That means Fe exists in Fe2O3 form, oxide form, which is called as hematite. And also iron exists in oxide form, as I mentioned earlier. Say for example, Fe3O4, which is called as magnetite. From these two ores, iron is extracted through reduction process. Basically, iron is extracted from Fe2O3, I mean hematite or magnetite, through blast furnace process. In blast furnace process, iron is obtained by treating previously obtained carbon monoxide CO with hematite or magnetite. So here iron is obtained by treating the ores hematite or magnetite with previously obtained carbon monoxide, which was synthesized or which was obtained by treating coke carbon with O2, carbon with oxygen. That means here C represents coke. Coke is treated with oxygen. Here O2 represents blast air. When coke treated with blast air, it gives rise carbon monoxide. This reaction is carried out at 900 degree centigrade in a blast furnace. When the hematite or magnetite ore is treated with in situ generated carbon monoxide, Fe2O3 or Fe3O4 reacts with carbon monoxide and gives rise Fe. In addition to Fe, it gives rise carbon dioxide. This is how iron is extracted from hematite or magnetite in blast furnace. So here, as I mentioned earlier, carbon monoxide is generated at 900 degrees centigrade, whereas inside the same blast furnace, iron is obtained by treating the magnetite or hematite with carbon monoxide at 1800 to 2000 degree centigrade. 2000 degree centigrade. So when come to the properties of iron. So there are so many important, technologically important properties of iron. The first and foremost important property of iron is high melting point. So we know that melting point refers that this is the temperature at which the substance is converted from solid to liquid state. That is called as melting point. So here iron possesses or exhibits high melting point. That's one of the most important property of iron. Second one is good conductor of heat. Good conductor of heat. We know that metals conducts heat due to the presence of closely packed atoms which are capable of transferring the heat energy in the form of kinetic energy from one atom to another atom. So that's why majority of the metals conducts heat. Third important property of iron is good conductor of electricity. Good conductor of electricity. So we know that metals, majority of the metals are good conductor of electricity because metals consist easily flowable charges. Easily flowable charges. That's why metals conducts electricity. And then metals in general malleable. Also iron is also malleable. Malleable means it's a ability to be pounded or pressed or rolled into thin sheet without snapping. That is called as malleable. So iron, as we all know that, malleable. Malleable refers ability to be pressed or pounded or rolled into thin sheets without snapping. That is called as malleable. And one more important property of iron is this is ductile. Ductile. Ductiles refers the ability to be drawn, say for example into wire. That is called as ductile. So we know that iron is ductile. In addition to that, the sixth important property of iron is catalytical property. Catalytical property. So catalytical property refers, it's a property which alters the rate of the chemical reaction. That is called as catalytical property. In addition to these important properties, iron also exhibits high yield strength. High yield strength. And also it exhibits high tensile strength. High yield strength and high tensile strength. Yield strength. So here yield strength is a measurement of the force required to start the deformation of the material, that is bending or wrapping. The yield strength of iron is about 7250 psi. So that means iron exhibits high yield strength, which is necessary for construction material. And then the next one is high tensile strength. So here tensile strength refers the ability or the measure of the force required to break a metallic material or to break a material. That is called as high tensile strength. Tensile strength refers, it is the ability or the measurement of the force required to break the material. That is called as tensile strength. So the tensile strength of iron is also very, very high. In addition to that, we know that iron is durable. Iron is durable. Iron is durable. So durable means the ability or the capacity of the iron to resist the abrasion. To resist the abrasion. So these are some technologically important properties of iron. So next, when come to the applications, so we know that iron is widely used as a construction material. Say for example, we know that TMT bar, thermomechanical treated bars, right? So they are all made up of iron. And then when come to the window frames, window bars, so majority of the construction material what we use today are made up of iron. And then also iron is used in magnets, right? And also iron is used in the fabrication of metals. And also they are used in industrial machinery and instruments. So iron exhibits many technologically important applications. So next, when come to the alloys, so alloys means we know that it is a homogeneous mixture of two or more metals and non-metal. So here metal and non-metal is also possible. When come to the metals, we have brass. So it's a mixture of two metals like copper and zinc. When come to the metals and non-metal combination, so we have stainless steel. So one simple example I can give is stainless steel. So here the prime constituent is iron, but here the alloying element is chromium. In addition to chromium, it also contains non-metal like carbon. So that's why, so as I mentioned earlier, so alloy means it's a homogeneous mixture of two or more metals, as well as metal and non-metal is also possible. So there are 5 important alloys of iron. One is carbon steel. So why it is called as carbon steel? Because here the alloying element is carbon. And also carbon steel consists about 2% carbon. So this is the first important alloy of iron. Second one is stainless steel. So stainless steel consists about 10 to 20% chromium. In addition to chromium, it also contains nickel and then silicon, manganese and carbon. So these are the alloying elements of stainless steel. Third one is alloy steel. So alloy steel mainly consists nickel, copper, chromium and or aluminum. So these are the alloying elements of alloy steel. Next, fourth one is tool steel. So here in case of tool steel, the alloying elements are tungsten, molybdenum, cobalt and vanadium. So these are the alloying element of tool steel. And finally fifth one is cast iron. So in case of cast iron, the alloying element is about 2 to 4% carbon. In addition to carbon, cast iron is also contains silicon. So these are 5 important alloys of iron. So when come to the properties of alloys of iron, so as I mentioned earlier, so there are so many properties. Among them, so there are 6 important properties of alloys of iron. One is durability. So as I mentioned earlier, both iron as well as alloys of iron are more durable. They are very strong. In comparison, the alloys of iron are more durable compared to iron. So in general, both iron and alloys of iron are durable. But in comparison, when we compare iron with alloys of iron, so alloys of iron are more durable compared to iron. Because we know that iron, when exposed into moisture and air, the susceptibility of iron for corrosion is very, very high. But when come to the alloys of iron, they are not susceptible for corrosion. That means the tendency of iron to undergo corrosion is very, very high. But when come to the alloys of iron, the tendency of these alloys is not much compared to iron. So that's why the durability of alloys of iron is more compared to iron. Second one is hardness. In general, both iron as well as alloys of iron are hard in nature. But in comparison, the alloys of iron are more hard compared to iron. So that means alloys of iron are harder compared to iron. Next one is toughness. So in general, both iron as well as alloys of iron are tough in nature. In comparison, alloys of iron are tougher compared to iron. Similarly, yield strength and tensile strength. So the yield strength of iron, as I mentioned earlier, yield strength of iron is about 7250 psi. When you compare the yield strength of iron with alloys of iron, the yield strength of alloys of iron is about 35,000 psi. This one goes up to 50,000. Up to 50,000 psi. That's why the alloys of iron, right? In case of yield strength, the yield strength of alloys of iron is more compared to the yield strength of iron. So then tensile strength. So in general, both iron as well as alloys of iron, or the tensile strength of both is good, but in comparison, the tensile strength of alloys of iron is good compared to iron. And finally, elongation. So this is about the properties of alloys of iron. So now when come to the applications of alloys of iron. So in the previous section we have discussed about the applications of iron, but in this section we are going to discuss about the applications of alloys of iron. So particularly carbon steel is mainly used in automobile body and also in the manufacturing of pipes, in construction and bridge components. And also carbon steel is used in railway tracks, train wheels, gears, cutting tools, springs and high strength wires. When come to the stainless steel, we know that stainless steel is common in healthcare equipments, and also they are common in cutting tools and food producing equipments. Alloy steel has many applications such as railway road construction, automobiles, buildings, airport, clear? And the major application of tool steel is in tool manufacturing such as hand tools or machine dies. And then come to the last one, cast iron. Cast iron, which is frequently used as cheap and brittle metal, is receiving much more attention and is widely used in machinability, lightweight, strength and wear resistance materials. So this is about the applications of alloys of iron. So among metals, so one more important metal which is widely used in construction is aluminium. So the symbol of aluminium is capital A, small l, Al. So the atomic number of aluminium is 13 and the atomic weight of aluminium is 26.98. And the electronic configuration of aluminium is neon electronic configuration followed by 3s2 and 3p2. 3s2 and 3p2. So we know that aluminium, as I mentioned earlier, iron is the fourth abundant element in the earth crust, whereas aluminium is the third most abundant element in the earth crust. Third abundant element in the earth crust. About 8.1% by mass is available in the earth crust. When come to the aluminium, similar to iron, aluminium is also exist in combined form. Right? So the important ore of aluminium is bauxite. So the chemical composition of bauxite is Al2O3XH2. Al2O3XH2. Here X is 2. X is about 2. So aluminium is obtained from its respective ore, bauxite, from the famous process called Bayer process. So in Bayer process, aluminium oxide Al2O3 is synthesized or is obtained starting from bauxite. by treating the bauxite Al2O3 2H2O with NaOH solution, sodium hydroxide solution. So aluminum is extracted from its respective ore, bauxite Al2O3 2H2O, by treating with sodium hydroxide, which is called as Bayer's process. So in the first step, when bauxite treated with sodium hydroxide, it gives rise sodium aluminate, that is 2Na Al2O3 2Na Al2O3 plus 3H2O. In the next step, the sodium aluminate so obtained 2Na Al2O3 reacts with water and carbon dioxide, gives rise aluminum hydroxide. Aluminum hydroxide. In addition to this one, it also produces sodium carbonate, Na2CO3. And in the final step, aluminum hydroxide so form 2Al thrice get decomposed into alumina Al2O3 plus gives rise water. So this is how alumina Al2O3 is extracted from bauxite. So aluminum in the form of alumina is extracted from its respective ore called bauxite Al2O3 2H2O from Bayer's process by treating the bauxite with sodium hydroxide, followed by hydrolysis, followed by decomposition. So in the first step, the bauxite reacts with, blend with sodium hydroxide, which produces or which gives rise sodium aluminate. In the next step, sodium aluminate so form undergoes hydrolysis and gives rise aluminum hydroxide. And in the final step, aluminum hydroxide so form get decomposed into alumina Al2O3 and 3H2O. So here aluminum is obtained in the form of oxide, alumina, from Hall-Héroult process. Pure aluminium is obtained by treating aluminium ion Al3 plus ion with carbon in the presence of carbon or graphite electrodes. When the Al3 plus ion subjected for electrolysis in the presence of carbon at anode, carbon reacts with O2 minus, gives rise carbon monoxide and gives rise to electrons. So this one anodic reaction. When come to the cathodic reaction, at cathode Al3 plus ion reacts with 3 electrons and get reduced into pure aluminium. So this reaction is carried out through electrolysis. So the name of the reaction is Hall-Héroult process. This is how aluminium is extracted from its respective ore, bauxite. So when come to the alloys of aluminium, the alloys of aluminium is maintained by the Aluminium Association. So aluminium alloys, so there is 9 series. It is represented by 1, this first series, followed by 3X. Similarly, second series of aluminum alloys represented by 2 followed by 3x. Similarly, till 9th one, 9 and then 3x. So here the first series of aluminum represents there is no alloying element. Alloying element. So series 1 represents there is no alloying element. So this series contains only aluminum. And here first two digits represents the order in the series. Order in the series. The first two digits represents the order of this particular alloy of aluminum in the first series. Say for example, if it is 10, that means this particular alloy of aluminum is the 10th member of the first series. Next two digits represents the purity. Next two digits represents the purity of aluminum greater than 99%. Greater than 99%. Say for example, assume the purity of a particular aluminum alloy is 99.46. So last two digits represents the purity of aluminum greater than 99. That means these two digits. 99 is common, greater than 99 is 0.46. This one is represented by these two digits. Second series. When come to the second series represents the alloying element is copper. Alloying element in case of second series is copper. Similarly, third series of aluminum alloy consists manganese. Similarly, fourth aluminum alloy consists silicon. Similarly, fifth one consists magnesium as alloying element. And in the sixth series consists magnesium and silicon as alloying element. Seventh series represents the alloying element is zinc and then magnesium and then copper. So the alloying element of 7th series of aluminum alloys are zinc, magnesium and copper. And then 8th series, the alloying element of 8th series is other elements. Other elements in addition to tin. When come to the 9th series, right? So other than tin as well as other elements. So here first series there is no alloying element, only pure aluminum. Second, alloys of aluminum, the alloying element is copper. Third series, the alloying element is manganese. Fourth series, silicon. Fifth series, magnesium. Sixth series, magnesium and silicon are the alloying elements. Seventh series, zinc, magnesium and copper are the alloying elements. Eighth series, in addition to tin, other elements. Ninth series, excluding tin, other elements. So now, other than first series, from second one to ninth one, aluminum from second series to ninth series. So here there are 4 digits. As I mentioned earlier, there are 4 digits. So here the first digit represents the alloying element. If it is 2, the alloying element is copper. alloying element, first digit. Here second digit, this one represents how many times modification is done to the original alloy of this series. Modification, how many modification is done to this particular original alloy, and then these last two digits represents the position of the particular alloy of aluminum in that particular series, in the second series. Say for example, I can take one simple example. Assume 2135. Assume aluminum alloy of 2135. So here 2 refers what? Copper. The alloying element is copper, 2. Here 1 represents one modification is done to the original alloy of aluminum, that is Al2035. So here 2035 is the original alloy of aluminum. To this particular alloy of aluminum, one modification is done. That's why here 1. And then 35. So 35 represents, this one is the 35th member of this particular series. 35th member of this particular series. This is how from 2nd to 9th alloys of aluminum are represented. Now let us discuss about the properties of aluminum and its alloys. The first and foremost important property of aluminum is ultimate strength. Ultimate strength. So here ultimate strength means, so because aluminum alloys exhibits desirable combination of mechanical properties, material are frequently chosen for use in variety of applications. So material properties are essential for structural applications and engineering must take them into account. So according to this perception, a material's strength is its capacity to sustain an applied load without failing or deforming plastically. So the link between the external load placed on a material and the deformation or change in the material dimension is taken into the account when determining a material's strength. So a material strength is determined by its capacity to sustain this applied load without failing. So aluminum alloys in general exhibits ultimate strength compared to other materials. So second important property of aluminum is ultimate tensile strength. Ultimate tensile strength. So here this is equivalent to maximum strength that a structure can withstand. A fracture will occur if tensile strength is applied and kept in place. So majority of aluminum alloys show ultimate tensile strength. For example, the ultimate tensile strength of 2024 aluminum alloy is about 450 megapascal. So that's why majority of the aluminum alloys exhibits excellent tensile strength. So tensile strength is nothing but tensile strength is the equivalent to maximum stress that a structure can withstand. So this is the maximum stress that a structure can withstand. That is called as ultimate tensile strength. So the tensile strength of aluminum alloys is excellent. Say for example, the alloy of aluminum 2024 The tensile strength of 2024 is about 450 megapascal. Third important property of aluminum and its alloys are yield strength. Yield strength. So the yield point on a stress strain curve, we know that is located where the elastic activity ends and plastic behavior starts. So the yield strength, that point in a stress strain curve is the location where elastic activity ends and the plastic activity, the plastic behavior starts. So the material property known as yield strength or yield stress is described as the tension at which a material starts to distort plastically. That is called as yield strength. So the yield strength of low strength aluminum is about 35 megapascal. The yield strength of low strength aluminum is about 35 megapascal. So next important property of aluminum is thermal property. Thermal property. So materials thermal characteristics, we know that describes how they react to various temperature and the application of heat. So we know that aluminum alloys exhibit excellent thermal property in comparison with other alloys. Say for example, the thermal conductivity of aluminum alloy is about 88 to 251 watts per millikelvin, which is several times the value of steel. So that's why aluminum and its alloys are considered as excellent thermal materials. So next property is melting point. Melting point. So we know that melting point is the temperature at which a substance can change from solid state to liquid state. So the melting point of aluminum and its alloys, we know that it's very, very high. Say for example, the melting point of 2024 alloy and 6061 alloy is about 570 and 600 degree respectively. So that's why aluminum and its alloys, that the melting point is very, very high. This is about properties of aluminum and its alloys. So when come to the applications of aluminum and its alloys, so we know that aluminum and its alloys are widely used in roofing, foil insulation, windows, window frames, doors, and then shop fronts. And its alloys are also chosen for fabrication due to their exceptional corrosion resistance. So the resistance towards the corrosion of aluminum and its alloys is excellent. So that's why these materials are mainly chosen for fabrication due to their exceptional corrosion resistance. I can give some examples where they are widely used with respect to corrosion. They are widely used in chemical tanks, piping, etc. And also these materials are widely used in aerospace and aviation applications. Frequently use high strength, high performance alloys that comprise aluminum and copper. And also the aluminum alloys, in addition to magnesium, are suitable for use at high temperature. And we know that aluminum and its alloys are also used in the manufacturing of pots, pans, right? And then they are also used in power plant today, as well as the aluminum alloys with silicon and magnesium, if about 1%, are widely used in welding fabrication industry, and they are incorporated into many structural components. So these are some important applications of aluminum and its alloys.